Hey everybody, Dan here, and if you're tuning in for the first time or you're a returning visitor, this is Gaming Gods with Dad Bods, and to bring you up to speed, we're looking at my 2003 build Frank. Last time we left off, I had just installed Windows 2003, and I was ready to do driver installs and get them DirectX updates as well as start installing games. Well, in between now and then, everything started failing on me. Drivers went in okay, got sound, updated the graphics card, everything was visually looking good, installed DirectX, no problems there. Then of course I went and installed games and started getting file copy errors. Tried a different game, got the same thing, except that one blue screen on me saying there was something wrong and gave me an NTFS blue screen. And I was thinking, how can so many hard drives start failing on me? At that point, I had been going through, I think, like my fourth or fifth hard drive, and two of them I knew definitely were working, and the third one should have been fine because I was just using it as a backup for an Xbox that I had, and there was no issue there when I set up and mounted it for the Xbox. So I had ordered a new hard drive, as well as I was getting curious that I had something wrong as one of my components. So sure enough, I swapped out the half gig memory DIMM that I had and used one of the 1 gig sticks that I had from the kit, and sure enough, Windows XP installed, no problem, no errors, no nothing. And then proceeded to install the graphic and the sound card, the onboard sound driver. Everything booted fine, and sure enough, installing games was a breeze. So let's get right into it. I got 3 games for you today. First one up is going to be Halo PC. This came out in, I believe, 2003, shortly after I had built this guy. And, it was different. There was a lot of differences from the original Halo. They added a few things. Visually there were some differences. But I remember it running pretty good. Not the greatest, but at the time, hey, it was online multiplayer, and I took that. Then I had installed O.R.B, Off-World Resources Base. I didn't get too far in this. Just played the live open cinematic, and then did a little bit of the tutorial. Seems like it's pretty in depth. I think I might do a full video on that one just to kind of see what more goes on with it. And last but not least, Knights of the Old Republic, classic Star Wars game that came out also around the time that I built this guy. I was really curious on how this would run because it's kind of stretching the build that I had put together, which was a combination of old parts, and I wasn't using any of the newer gen that was coming out, like the Pentium 4s that were way more expensive. I went with a more AMD Athlon XP budget build and went with one of the mid-tier processors. So let's get into it. Let's look at some gameplay, and at the end, I'll do a quick wrap up, and you guys leave a comment down. Leave me a comment and say, what do you think? So we'll be right back. All right, first up, Halo PC. This is 600 by 480 frame rate. Let's see if we can adjust. VSync, Desync. I wonder if its frame rate is live at 300 per second. This person most goes into visual performance. Refresh rate. I wonder if I can go higher. Let's keep it at 60. 800 by 600. We'll do a medium. Let's hit OK. Remember, this was a launch title for Microsoft Xbox, so interesting enough, the PC requirements aren't too far off from the console. So graphically, I feel like I'm a little behind because I only have 32 megs to work with, and the Xbox had 64. So I remember texturally, this game looked a lot different, but the play was still, the overall gameplay was still there.
Cortana, all I need to know is, did we lose them?
I think we both know the answer to that.
We made a blind jump. How did they...
Get here first? The Covenant ships have always been faster. As for tracking us all the way from Reach,
tweaking on my
light
monitor
speed,
to
my
get the
maneuvering
colors a
options
little
were
bit
limited.
more.
We were running dark, yes?
Look
Until
better.
he
This looks a little
decelerated,
white.
no one could have missed the
At least
hole we
for
tore
me
in
it does.
subspace.
Maybe it looks a little better for you guys. Look at my whites
They
and
were
grays
waiting
seem
for
a
us
little
on the
off, but
far
that could be
side of
the
the
monitor.
planet.
So, where do we stand?
Our fighters are mopping up the last of their recon picket now, nothing serious. But I've isolated approach signatures for multiple CCS-class battle groups. Make
Alright,
it
I'm gonna
3
skip this. I want to get into some gameplay here. Come on, get third. And you die.
Alert, all hands. Shoot those blast doors. Move! Move! Everything move to engage. Let's do it!
They're blocking me. I forget which way I gotta go.
There's one. Sir, the captain needs you on the bridge ASAP. You better follow me. Over here! Do it!
Little choppies right there, but probably because we're about to load. Skip.
Don't keep it loaded, son. You'll have to find ammo as you go.
Those Marines could use some help, Chief. Do what you do best.
Oh, what's grenades?
Charge! Not killing my men!
This is more my sensitivity not being set to where I need it to be. Let's switch weapon. There we go.
Combat teams on deck 7 and 8. Fall back to secondary defensive positions.
Ignore my gameplay. This is... this is definitely more unplayable. At least it feels that way. And I mean, this obviously isn't the most chaotic part of the game by any stretch of the means, but visually it definitely doesn't look as good as like the Xbox. And I don't know if, you know, if I gave an upgrade to the graphics, would it kind of fill in?
Okay, my bad.
But it's definitely playable. Visually, it's definitely a little bit of a downgrade, and I'm curious if like a graphic card upgrade would definitely make things a little bit better. Alright, next up, O.R.B. Off-World Resources Base.
Discord. We had grown alienated from the stars, our home. Conflict was our master, crushing our spirits in its spiteful grip. In early times, our only language was the cry of battle. At last we acknowledged the futility of our eternal struggles against the spirits of the universe. Our frustration could cease only by humbly submitting to their natural authority, for this is the way of the world.
This came out in 2002.
Even the God-leaf progeny. Thus the seeds of our being were planted throughout the cosmos. The raging of the spirits was thus assuaged, and for some time we heard only the comforting hum of the celestial wheel. But the truce was short-lived, and the murmuring of the restless spirits soon reached a screeching pitch. A new age of discord was once again upon us. The enemy drew silently near. We were betrayed. How could it be? How could we not have seen it? We were warring with shadows, and to our uncomprehending minds, these eternal conflicts were without purpose or reason. Again we fought them, and for a time the tide of battle waxed and waned, but our suffering was in vain. Even in victory, our ruthless overlords remained shrouded in infinite darkness. Out of the ashes that had once been our empire, our sole source of hope remained blessedly intact. The Torah, our holy scripture and sole guide to the ecstatic union we so desperately sought, had survived the Holocaust in its entirety. But now that harmony had become a distant, shattered fantasy. We were lost in dreams of eternity, our spirits trapped in the conflict of the present, and our as yet unrealized merging with the infinite.
take a quick look here. Let's just bump it up a little bit. Hit apply. This is going to take some getting used to. Definitely an RTS, and definitely more curious about this game, but definitely seems to be running relatively smooth for a first, quick look. Whoa. What did I just do? Alright, so I got 3 guys here. Definitely curious on where this game goes, that's for sure, but for timeline and lengthwise, I might cut this one a little short, but if anyone that's played this game, let me know how this game kind of progresses, because I'm definitely curious about it, as I was when I first looked at the box. So it seems to be running okay. Maybe I'll do another segment with the more in-depth play once I get out of this tutorial, but obviously this is going to take a long time to get through. So let's continue on to game number 3, shall we? Let's see what it says if we scan hardware. Oh, this might not run. So green warning, Athlon XP recommended 1.6. Oh, did the stupid clock reset? Warning Radeon recommended better. Alright, let's go back to the BIOS and relaunch this. Alright, we'll be back momentarily. Alright, we are back. Let's try this again. See how we do. So we'll keep these low since it's saying, I know that the hardware's a little bit low, but I'm betting it'll run. So hardware mask. Let's insert the disk. Alright, we're launched. We're past main menu. Let's do soldier for now. Do quick character. Let's see what we got here for options. Anything that looks remotely like me? Probably not. Yeah, let's just go with him. Cue the credits. I'm sure probably most of you tuning in are familiar with this. Let's see what happens when we actually get into the game, if it's going to crash on us or if it's going to keep going. Alright, we're in. A little bit. Animation. Obviously this is looking dated to its time.
We've been ambushed by a Sith battle fleet. The Endar Spire is under attack. Hurry up, we don't have much time. I'm Trask Volgo, ensign with the Republic fleet. I'm your bunkmate here on the Endar Spire. We work opposite ships. I guess that's why you haven't seen me before. Now hurry up, we have to find Bastila. Bastil is the commanding officer on the Endar Spire. One of our primary... I've heard all... Word is we're soldiers. We're trained for... So hurry up and grab your...
That's my stats. This is probably... That's my inventory.
Okay, let's move out. We should stick together. You'll have more success with a... Now that the door's open, you better take the lead. What?
This is Carthonasi. The Sith are threatening to overrun our position. We can't hold out long.
That was Carth. If he... There's a...
This one looks like the first round of combat.
That door is locked. Target the door using the mouse. Look at the target menu and find the secure... Once you see it... These Sith must be the... For the Republic! What? What? Yes?
It is a little choppy, but I'll be honest, this seems very similar to how I played on the Xbox. I'm sure if I had a little bit more graphic power, it'd probably be a little bit smoother. But I mean, this is more than playable, and that was with two bad guys in the room, and you know, it's not sluggish on the response. I could see like there's a little bit of wildness to like, you know, maybe graphically when you're turning really quick. What do you guys think? So I think I'm losing a few frames here, but nothing like that would have turned me off from this being the opening to one of the greatest games ever, you know. So probably a room with a decent amount of combat going on. I'm still, obviously this is an older game, and I remember this compared to other RPGs was a little bit weird with the pausing and the switching between characters like that, but you know, this is easily playable, and I can maybe tweak settings, maybe it'll be better, a little bit worse, I don't know, but I mean, this is KOTOR, you know, without any mods or updates or hacks. You know, this is in its raw form with the GPU that apparently doesn't meet qualifications. So if I turn the texture quality down to low, it might even be even better. So we'll pause it right here, and I'll wrap this up. Alright, so there you have it. These are the first three games that I'm going to showcase on Frank with just his base configurations here. So overall, you know, Halo PC, it brought me right back to how I remember it running on it. Seemed a little sluggish at times, a little choppy, but it was definitely more than playable. Graphically, you know, it looks a little bit different visually from the console version, but crazy enough is that the console specs on this are pretty close to the Xbox console. So, you know, this is asking for a 700 megahertz processor, 32 meg graphic card. So, you know, I'm right there spec wise. You know, I definitely meet the CPU and the GPU requirements, and we know the Xbox GPU had a 64 megabyte card in it, so it had a little bit more juice than what I originally started out with. Crazy enough is when I recorded Halo and O.R.B, I forgot that, you know, as you saw in the demo, I forgot that I never made sure that my CPU didn't reset back to like the 1.1 gigahertz. So for KOTOR, that went back up to where it needed to be. And even though my graphically, you know, I don't really meet the minimum requirements, you can see that it's playable. And that game, you know, was originally on the Xbox, so rightfully so. It does run pretty good. I could probably tweak the settings for both these games and probably get a little bit better, you know, performance out of it. And then with O.R.B, you know, the opening cinematic was very reminiscent and very similar to StarCraft. And, you know, I'm curious to what the real game looks like, the campaign-wise. I know that's the tutorial, and there's really not much there. But it runs fine. It runs smooth. I know I'm definitely beyond the requirements, I believe, as I don't think this really had anything demanding yet. Athlon 600 megahertz, that's really nothing. 100 megs of RAM, you know, 500 megabytes on the hard drive. It's crazy talking about things so small. 60 megs of VRAM, so that's kind of like, you know, really on par with how StarCraft, you know, was the requirements for StarCraft. So I imagine that game will run fine, you know, cranked to the max settings. But you know, I like to hear your thoughts. You know, what do you think of Frank so far? You know, at the time, you know, I probably spent, I think, between 250 to 350 because I used my old components. I purchased a case which came with a brand new power supply, and then later I did upgrade to the Raptor, which, you know, I think collectively that cost me just under $100 at the time to purchase that. So overall, it was a 450 using old components, and it was playing games that were coming out at that time, as well as it had no problem, and I'll showcase that as well, you know, going back and playing Half-Life and Counter-Strike, StarCraft. I know it plays Half-Life 2. That'll be in my next round of games. I'll put a Half-Life 2 on this guy, and we can go and take a look at how that ran. I remember it running it pretty good. I just know the load times, you kind of sit there for a minute as it loaded like the next chapter or the next segment of the game. I think that was the only thing I recall being slow. It's also like 6 discs to install because it's not a single. I didn't get the single DVD version. But, you know, I'm hoping to do a couple series to load up as many games that I have from the stockpile in here. So, you know, we got Warcraft to load in. We got both the Half-Lives, probably some of those Age of Empire and RTS games. And then I want to start looking at, you know, what games could I get it to run if I put in some upgrades. And I definitely have, you know, CPU and GPU upgrade paths. I got more memory I can put in this thing. Obviously, I'm going to put in the Sound Blaster live card to get, you know, probably get a better audio experience. I'm hoping I can, you know, the soundbar is not terrible, but I think I'll obviously consider looking for either one of my 5.1s from those days or maybe one of the Clips 2.1s from, you know, the early 2000s. I'd like to get a hold of that. It'd be awesome if I can go back even further to the 90s and get, my parents had All-Tech Lansing, like the blue, the white speakers with the big subwoofer. That would be kind of cool to have for the overall just retro 90s, early 2000s look. As you can tell, my audio is much better in these segments, and I apologize. That's why this video is running late. The commentary, I just didn't want to have to go back and recapture game footage, so I'm sorry for the commentary not coming through at times in the gameplay segments, but hopefully you got to kind of see how this is performing. If you have suggestions on what I could do to tweak it to make it perform better with everything I currently have, you know, throw down a comment, you know, reach out to me. Love to hear what your thoughts are. But for now, I'm going to try to hit this with a couple rounds of games, install them, you know, showcase them, and then you know, hopefully a few videos from now, we'll start looking at putting some upgrades into Frank here and really boosting them. And I also want to go back and look at the original hard drive that's still bootable. You know, can I get Windows to be repaired, you know, to a point where it's stable, and then maybe I'll just clone it to a new hard drive, and then Frank, you know, has his original brain in a new body. So hope you like what you see. Hope you enjoyed this. There's more to come. Until next time, you know, my name is Dan, and this is Gaming Gods with Dad Bods. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.